time, Ray. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1. Line drive to Newton. Justice has scored the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series for Reggie Jackson.
The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Back and throw. There's a long drive. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them with my faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins.
Here's the pitch to Willie. There's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right.
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we haven't heard.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. This is it back. Home run.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Haney in a chance. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team.
Are you just saying you want to have fun? Or
Guess what I just got?
It'll be fun.
Hello, guys.
Anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, and get them out of here. You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the quagmire that is Wednesday. I am your host, Dan Scott, nice and dry inside the Furman football facility here in the radio booth on campus overlooking the visiting stands towards the haze covering Paris Mountain as the rain falls in great levels here in the upstate. Hope that you've been able to negotiate your way around this morning without having too much difficulty. We'll remind you to be careful on the roads when you go out. Hydroplaning is an issue, and I said it before, and I say it again. You know, and you can say anything about anybody in the South as long as you either preface it or end it by saying, God bless you. So, God bless them. People in the South cannot drive, by and large, in any kind of inclement weather, whether it is snow or ice or rain. And so just watch out for the other guy when you're out there running around today. Back at it after missing yesterday. Had what I called a work day here in the office yesterday. Some things that had to be done from a paperwork standpoint, and continuing to get a brand new computer loaded and ready to go. That's going to change the look of the show to a certain degree, because we'll be able to do it in full screaming high definition. It's a lot faster. The graphics package is a lot better than the laptop that we're using right now. So if you think it's bad now, having to look at me this way, wait until it's in full crystal clear HD coming at your computer screen. Yeah, run for the hills. Coming up on the show today, it is National Signing Day, the sequel. So we'll be taking a look at what's going on here on campus. We'll be taking a look at some news and notes from around the country. We'll be talking with Dave Glenn, who comes up at 10:25, about signing day, about other things going on in the ACC, and also about his trip to the Super Bowl with his son that he got to experience. And being the Eagles fan, being a Philly guy, that completes the championship block for him in his lifetime as a Philadelphia resident and Philly fan, or Philly native and Philly fan. He lives in the Triangle area now. But he had seen the Phillies and the 76ers and the Flyers all win titles, but obviously never the Eagles win a Super Bowl. They had been to two, they had lost twice, and that all went by the wayside this past Sunday. So we'll talk to Dave about that a little bit as well. So we got a lot to get into today. You know, one of the first things about National Signing Day, before we get into any of the actual guys here on campus who have signed, and Furman has 4 of the 6 players it expects to sign today already in the fold. At least that's what it was as we went on the air, and if that updates as we go through the course of the show, we'll fix that. But you got to love the age of the internet. Have you seen the story this morning that on signing day, and in one case on the day leading up to signing day, you know, a big traffic day for Twitter accounts and Instagram accounts, Facebook accounts of major universities. The Twitter accounts of Texas, Georgia, Missouri, and South Florida all have been suspended at one time or another in the past day by the folks at Twitter. Now, they're all back up, but it's an interesting set of circumstances. The only thing that people can figure out is if maybe they posted some kind of copyrighted material and the Twitter folks decided to send a little bit of a message. And what was interesting in looking at the Texas account, for instance, when it got suspended, it had the blue check, you know, it was verified, and had 189,500 followers, okay? When it was brought back online after the suspension was lifted, the blue check was missing, it was no longer verified, and it only had 12,000 followers. So I don't know why Twitter did what it did or what it did, but you talk about coming at an absolutely horrible time. Now, that was yesterday. It was it was back up by 9:30 a.m. But it was taken down briefly yesterday. But then this morning, Georgia, Missouri, and South Florida all had their accounts briefly suspended. They are all back online, but in some cases with fewer follower accounts than they had before. Now, I don't know if, there's been a lot in the online world, the Twitterverse lately, especially about the controversy of buying followers and how many followers are real and how many are fake. A lot of celebrities buy followers. Other people will buy followers, and they're not real people, and they can't tweet and they can't do all these things. But you can buy the appearance of being popular, I guess. So I don't know if that came into play here or not, or why their number of followers has been decreased in some cases. But, I mean, Texas, come on, 189,500 all the way down to 12,000. Something has gone crazy. Something's gone amiss somewhere. But all four of those accounts are now back up. Some of them have fewer followers than they had at the beginning. Now, the reality of the situation is that once the account comes back up, the followers will pretty much reinstate themselves if they're actual real people, and they figure out, hey, we're not following the account anymore. They'll start following it again. So in one sense, it's not a huge deal, but in another sense, of all the days for it to happen in the world of college football at schools at that level, this is the day that it happened, or in Texas's case, yesterday. I found that very, very interesting. And again, can only surmise, as reading the stories this morning, can only surmise that they put up some kind of copyright violation or some kind of content that violated the copyright, to be specific and correct. But anyway, that was one of the little intriguing things that took place this morning, because, announcements come from there and everything else, the online presence on this day, the traffic is ridiculous at football schools. So all appears to be well at the moment, but there were there were some hearts jumping, hearts leaping into the throats of people at those schools when they got suspended. The accounts did a little bit earlier on. In any event, that's just a little bit of a snapshot of some of the madness that's happened, and that doesn't even take into account who's actually signed and who's done what and gone where. When we come back from the break, we will take a look at the 4 signees Furman has gotten in this morning. Again, they were expecting 6 and are expecting 6. Signed 10 in the early signing day. 3 transfers has come in. So this is going to be an overall class, if you count the transfers, of 19 players. And the final 6 due today, 4 of them are in the fold, and we will get to those 4 when we come back from the break. First of all, though, show is brought to you by Atlanta Bread Company, as always, our presenting sponsor. They're located in Cherrydale Plaza, just down the road from campus here. I swam to breakfast this morning and got my hot coffee, which is really, really good on a day like this. And the food was fantastic. Got a chance to talk to Jeff Massey, the owner, for a little bit. He was rocking and rolling as always. And the people there are simply fantastic. You are really missing a wonderful experience if you don't go check them out. It's the Atlanta Bread Company. When you do, thank them for what they do for us. Tell them that you heard about them here on the show. And they are in, again, the Cherrydale Plaza, just down the road here from campus. You'll hear more about them in just a moment. We'll come back and continue on this Wednesday rainy day edition of the Dan Scott Show right after this.
Hey Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingles, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingles, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget their gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
Say you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope, time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPR Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives, and they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today, and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Travelers Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
All right, we are right back at it here as we continue on a rainy, quagmire-ish Wednesday here in the Upstate. I'm Dan Scott. Thank you for joining us. So we get rolling here. Just a word about Hall's Chop House, located downtown Greenville, the Greenville Steakhouse. Billy and the gang have been in the Upstate here in Greenville for just about 2 years. Of course, they own the original Halls in Charleston and so much more down in the Low Country. Might be the Lone Country too, I don't know. But in any event, they brought the Halls magic here, and man, it fantastic. Starts with the Allen Brothers Prime Steaks and goes right down the line from there. The meeting space they have is ample and elegant. If you have a corporate meeting, if you have a birthday or anniversary celebration, whatever it is. When I was there and did the show last Friday, in fact, they had meetings going on where they catered breakfast and lunch to the people and had a separate private lunch meeting coming in as well. They're not open for lunch, but they do those private gigs throughout the day. They're open 7 nights a week for dinner beginning at 4 p.m., and they also are open on Sundays for brunch. It's Hall's Chop House, downtown Greenville, the Greenville Steakhouse. All right, just in the last few minutes, thanks to an update I saw from Scott Keeler, the last 2 members of the Furman signing class are in. So all 6 expected signees are in, and I'm just going to go down the order in which they were listed on the Furman Twitter accounts. The first one is Jax Hackett. He is the son of former SoCon performer and All-Pro, NFL All-Pro Dino Hackett, inside linebacker from Greensboro, 6'2", 205 pounds. Then came Travis Blackshear, the cornerback out of Savannah, Georgia, coming out of Benedictine Military School, 5'10", 175-pounder. That was followed by Zach Peterson, the wide receiver from the Wesleyan School down in Roswell, Georgia, 6'2", and 180 pounds. Wilkins, Dawan Wilkins, a 6', 200-pound safety from Spring Hope, North Carolina, out of Southern Nash High School. He was in. And then the last 2 members of the class are the 2 quarterbacks they were expecting. Hamp Sisson, 6 foot 185 pounder out of Birmingham and Mountain Brook High School, and Darren Granger, 6'4", 190 pounder from Conway High School here in the state, down in the Myrtle Beach area in Conway, South Carolina. So those are the signees in reverse order: Granger, Darren Granger, Hamp Sisson, Dawan Wilkins, Zach Peterson, Travis Blackshear, and Jax Hackett. So Furman's signing day is complete. And again, with the 10 they signed in the early period in December, that's 16 signees plus 3 transfers coming into the class. So 19 new Paladins are in the fold. In fact, the 3 transfers are already here, and they are practicing, going through spring practice with the team as far as I know. Everyone else is coming in the fall. But I'd say mission accomplished for Clay Hendricks and his staff, and now it's just a matter of getting them in and getting them coached up. And, I don't know that it's so much of an issue at this level. And I think most of you who know me know my thoughts on recruiting, and especially at the upper level with the rankings of the classes and all of the swooning by adults over 17 and 18-year-old kids. I have a little bit of an issue with that. But, there's no question on the flip side of it that the recruiting process, it's an old cliche, but it's true, it's the lifeblood of the program. And coaches get paid to be talent evaluators. They are the ones who have to make the right call. And you also, especially in this day and age, have to go through sometimes quite a few hoops when it comes to recruiting kids. They expect to be treated like kings when they come onto campus, and in most cases at the upper level schools, they're not disappointed. But it always reminds me of the old joke, because you hear coaches say it all the time, that when they get them signed, get them on campus, they have to go through a little bit of a deprogramming or de-recruiting process and make them understand that the life they were living before is not going to be anything close to what's going to be required of them if they're going to be successful at this level. And it always reminds me of the old joke about the guy who was killed in a car accident, found himself standing at the gates of heaven in front of St. Peter, and St. Peter's looking through the books. And he says, "Oh my, we have an issue. You're not supposed to be here. Someone else was supposed to be in that wreck. We've never had this situation before. I'm going to have to check and see what we can do about it." So he goes up to God's house, is gone for a bit, comes back, and he tells the guy, he says, "Here is what we're going to do. We've never done this before. We've never had this happen before." He said, "But we're going to give you the choice of where you want to spend eternity. And you've got 24 hours to make up your mind." And the guy says, "Well, I have heard about heaven all my life, and I have a pretty good idea of what it's like." He said, "But, hell has been a mystery to me. Is it as bad as people say? I think I want to spend my 24 hours there, and then I'll come back and make my decision." And St. Peter says, "Okay, but when you do, the decision is final. There's no going back." And the guy says, "Okay, I got it. I understand." So he gets on the down escalator, and when he gets there, the devil is waiting on him. Devil's, in a nice little tux, and he says, "Mr. Smith, we've been waiting on you, and we can't wait to show you around," and starts to give him a tour of the place, and it is a guy's paradise, man. It is, rooms filled with chicken wings and drinks and football on big screens and women and everything else. And the guy just stays for 24 hours, and he has an absolute blast. So when his time is up, he goes back up to St. Peter at the pearly gates, and St. Peter says, "Okay, the time has come. Have you made your decision?" And the guy says, "Yes." He says, I believe I want to spend the eternity in hell. I just had such a great time down there. It's more my style, so that's where I want to go." And St. Peter says, "Are you sure? Is that your final answer?" And the guy says, "Yes." So St. Peter sends him on his way back down the down escalator. And when he gets there this time, all of the things that he saw were gone. And it is the hell of the Bible, the fire and brimstone and the weeping and the gnashing of the teeth. And Satan is no longer nattily dressed in a tux. He is the evil beast that he is. And the guy says, whoa, wait a minute. What happened? Where are the women and the beer and the chicken wings and the football and everything else that made it such a great time? And Satan just kind of coyly smiled, and he put his arm around him. He said, son, that was your recruiting trip. Every time we get to signing day, I think of that joke. And I think I usually tell it as well. All right, we've got to take a break. When we come back, Dave Glenn will be up with us. This is the Dan Scott Show on a torrentially raining Wednesday here in the upstate. And we'll be back right after this.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Travelers Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money, too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
The madness begins here. Make sure you're at the U.S. Cellular Center in Asheville, North Carolina, March 1st through 5th for the 2018 SoCon Basketball Championships presented by General Shale. Watch your favorite SoCon teams compete for a championship and a berth in the NCAA tournament, and take part in exciting events like the Downtown Dribble and the Ingles Jam Fest. Book your travel and tickets by logging on to SoConHoops.com or by contacting the U.S. Cellular Center box office. The madness begins in Asheville. Get your tickets today.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget the gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
So you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPO Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today, and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today. All right, welcome back. It is 10:23. Dan Scott Show here on this rainy Wednesday morning. Hope that everything is going well with you. Want to make sure that I remind you constantly about the Walk a Mile Project. They are a nonprofit located in the Anderson area, but they serve the entire upstate, and their main function is twofold. Number one, they do a lot of mission work in places like Guatemala, for instance, where they help build homes for the homeless, find clean drinking water, and, of course, spreading the gospel at the same time. The other side of the mission is equipping individuals and churches to do the same thing. So it's a multifaceted operation, and in the not-too-distant future, we're going to have Heath Purdett and his dad on with us to talk about it a little bit and give us a little more information about it. And it was Heath's dad, I think, who started the Walk a Mile Project. You can find out more by going to the website you see right there, thewhamproject.org. That's the Walk a Mile Project. As always, please tell them you heard about them here on the show. All right. He may have sprouted wings and flown back like an eagle himself from Philly to Raleigh. Had he done so, he might have gotten there with a little less issues based on what he was telling us a minute ago. But anyway, Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com is with us here. David, how you doing, man?
I'm doing especially good today, Dan. It's great to be with you again. I saw my Philadelphia Eagles for the first time. That's my hometown football team. For the first time win the Super Bowl, and I was not only there in person, I was not on journalistic duty. I was with my 18-year-old son, and I even hooked up with two of my best childhood friends from the Philadelphia area. So it was not only an amazing sports experience, it was, on that short list of great life experiences as well.
Yeah, I think I remember reading that you had seen the Phillies win the title with your dad back in 1980. So this is kind of a generational thing coming full circle.
Oh, for sure. I mean, my dad's still around. He's in his 70s. We have a good relationship. But whereas my connections or my bonds to my mother are mostly, almost entirely, actually completely unrelated to sports, sports has been a big part of my relationship with my dad for 50 years. So for that memory of 1980 to still stick out all these years later, witnessing the Phillies in the clinching game in the World Series with my dad next to me, I still remember it vividly, in the aftermath vividly. And then here we are in 2018, and I'm taking my own son to the Super Bowl where our favorite team, the Eagles, win that in person. I got misty-eyed, to be honest. I understand sports' place in the bigger universe. We're not curing cancer or anything important like that. But you know the deal. The relationships within sports are just as meaningful as relationships beyond sports. And those two examples are about as good as it gets for me.
Yeah, we, being a radio guy, I always love when we get the opportunity to hear the radio calls. Now, I watched the game like everybody else, but when I got back in here on Monday, I subscribe to a service that provides, clips and actualities and all those things that we like that make us sound a lot smarter than we are. I put together a little thing. I think I emailed it to you, as a matter of fact. A sequence that basically told the story of the game from the Philadelphia radio call standpoint, which was pretty intense. I enjoyed it. Probably should have done one from the Patriot standpoint as well, but that would have been a different outcome.
Well, Merrill Reese is one of the legends of broadcasting.
Yeah.
And, my dad's generation grew up with him calling Eagles games, and I grew up with him calling Eagles games. And to hear him at the very end say, this is for you Eagles fans. Players and coaches did the work. They deserve the credit, but that's a pretty loyal fan base. They also have a little bit of a nasty reputation, and I will not tell you that is undeserved.
A little bit?
But just as whatever that 1 to 10% might deserve their bad reputation, and I won't defend them, I do think there's a group of maybe 90% that are loyal, that are knowledgeable, that are passionate, that were there through a lot of losing seasons. So I'm especially happy for that 90%.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. I mean, the storylines that developed with that team that played out on that day with Nick Foles, and I love the clip. Have you seen the clip with Foles mic'd up in the first half when they were 4th and 1? And it was Foles who came to the sideline and suggested that they run that
Philly special.
The Philly, he called it. And Peterson said, hey, let's do it. I love it. Absolutely love the Riverboat Gambler, the aggressive mindset. Let's take it to them, and it all paid off.
Well, it's funny. Philly special usually means, how you order your cheesesteak in South Philadelphia. Philly special might mean, provolone instead of cheese whiz or onions and peppers or whatever. But that was the name of that play where Foles is over the right tackle pretending that he's talking to his offensive lineman, and then the snap goes directly to the back, and there's there are only so many trick plays you can call from the 1-yard line. But Foles catching that touchdown pass on the same day he threw for some and being the MVP, that is about as special as it gets, pardon the pun.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, Dave Glenn, Philly fan, is fulfilled now that all 4 of his teams have won major championships in his lifetime. Let's talk about the ACC now, and this is signing day, the sequel, the actual original signing date. What have you seen transpire this morning? I think we talked a couple of weeks ago. We weren't expecting very many, if anything, in the way of surprises, but all running according to plan this morning?
Yeah, I think so. I really believe 80 to 90% of the biggest decisions were made a long time ago, and we were all wondering how the first Wednesday in February would be handled under this new format. And I think whether it's media coverage or fan excitement, there are still the diehards I know that love recruiting and are going crazy today. But for the little bit more casual fan, almost all of this was finished in December. And the reality is that just as Clemson and Miami, who played for the ACC title this year and were in the national top 10 back in December when those football class rankings came out, the Tigers and the Hurricanes are still leading the way here on the first Wednesday in February. So other schools had good recruiting years. You know, Florida State would be an example, Dan, of somebody that had a lot of work to do, right? Willie Taggart takes over for Jimbo Fisher, and you're in between what we now call our 2 signing days. The Seminoles had work to do, and they have done good things with that time since Willie Taggart took over. Virginia Tech had a good recruiting class. Louisville had a good recruiting class. But with the exception of the Seminoles, you know, we're really looking mostly at the results that we already had back in early December.
Let's shift gears to basketball a little bit. And I love how quickly a narrative can change. You know, at Clemson a year ago, things were not going well for Brad Brownell and his basketball program, and by the end of the season, there were significant question marks as to whether or not he would be retained for this upcoming basketball season. We know he was. We know Clemson is having a marvelous season, which has really caught everybody by surprise. And now the narrative has significantly changed. It's done the virtual 180. On your website, there is a story on the Wake Forest section that says what could have been Brad Brownell at Wake Forest. I mean, now, a year ago he wasn't good enough to coach at Clemson, and now Wake Forest is saying, man, we could have had this guy.
Right. You know, and before they got Kevin Keats, who's having a very good first year at NC State, Wolfpack Nation at times in the past, I remember when they had a couple of crazy bad coaching searches, there were Wolfpack fans that would have loved to have seen Brad Brownell return to this state and take over the Wolfpack because some of them remember what he did, great things for UNC Wilmington as a head coach. So it is fascinating how quickly these narratives can change. Wake fans and State fans at different times had viewed, you remember the start of Brad Brownell's tenure at Clemson. Right out of the gate, he makes the NCAA tournament. Everybody knew his strong reputation as a defensive coach, given his time at UNC Wilmington and as Wright State. You know, he won conference championships in both of those 2 leagues, Horizon and CAA. So he came with a strong reputation to the ACC. He started out of the gate strongly with the Tigers. And it was interesting that those opportunities kind of came and went. I have no idea to what degree those discussions ever ramped up or not. But it is funny that he's gone from seemingly hanging by a thread last spring to now in charge of a squad that last I saw, you know, some of the bracketologists have the Tigers as a 3 seed. And at times I've even seen them as a 2. So they have work to do, as Brad would be the first to tell you, but it's certainly a great story. And he, Kevin Keats of NC State, and Tony Bennett of Virginia, you know, they're not only 3 candidates for ACC Coach of the Year, you know, they're getting some mention by the national media for doing some of the best jobs in the country.
Well, I was going to go to the Coach of the Year thing in the league, as a matter of fact, so that's a great segue, and we're visiting with Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com and the syndicated David Glenn Show throughout the state of North Carolina. People are going to look at what Tony Bennett's doing at Virginia. It's been an amazing season for them. I think they were expected to be elite. Nobody really knew what to expect out of Kevin Keats in his first year at NC State. Clemson was picked to finish near the bottom of the league. Is there really an argument as to whether Brad Brownell's done the best coaching job in this league?
I think there is, mainly because UVA, and I'm not big on putting too much weight on the media's preseason predictions, but UVA was picked 6th, and UVA is still undefeated in conference play. So if somehow, some way, Tony Bennett goes 18-0 in one of the toughest leagues in America, or even close to that, and has the Cavaliers number 2 in the nation after being picked 6th out of 15 teams, and after having lost his best player, London Parentes, Tony Bennett's actually going to get National Coach of the Year votes if this stuff keeps up. Now, that's why we keep watching, right? I mean, if NC State somehow falls short of the NCAA tournament, Kevin Keats's candidacy is tarnished a bit. If they get on a roll here and finish even more highly, then Kevin Keats' candidacy picks up. Same with Clemson. 8-3 in conference play right now. If you get on a roll and you finish 2nd to UVA, Brad Brownell, that strengthens his case, because you're right. The Cavaliers were kind of picked in the middle of the league and are at the top. The Tigers were picked at the bottom and are near the top. So which is better? I mean, the fun part is there are some years, Dan, where I was thinking of our Coach of the Year candidates, and the guy who ended up winning finished in the NIT. I've never been a big fan of that. I mean, this is a sport built on March Madness. I like looking at the teams that are, when you cast your vote, you're not sure who's in the NCAA tournament, but there's always a great story to tell, always, among the 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 ACC teams. One of those coaches did a heck of a job. And I just roll my eyes. Josh Pastner last year did a great job at Georgia Tech, but he didn't even make the NCAA tournament. I mean, that's a good coaching job, but in a sport defined by March Madness, my vote, I promise you, this year and other years is going to go to somebody who builds an NCAA tournament resume. Tony Bennett is one candidacy. Brad Brownell is another, and we'll see if Kevin Keats can add his name to that conversation.
Speaking of Georgia Tech, story I saw this morning that with an NCAA investigation ongoing and lingering there, that now an assistant coach has resigned. What's the scoop there?
He says it's just to avoid and limit the distractions. He says the investigation has gone on so long that he feels he had Darryl LeBerry as the assistant coach. He feels like he has become a distraction for the program, at a time where Georgia Tech is not having a great season.
Barry
but they would
Sanders
still
is
love
one
to
of the
make,
greatest running backs
the
in
NIT
football
or make a
history.
miracle run
When it
here.
came to
So we don't know all of the details or where that investigation is going to end up. But at least publicly, that's the assistant coach's explanation for why he decided to step aside.
And speaking of messes, every time you turn around, there's another story in the press about the latest in the negotiations or non-negotiations going on at Louisville with Tom Jurich and the payout that he's wanting and what Louisville is wanting to pay instead. What's the latest in that whole situation with Jurich and Rick Pitino and Louisville?
It really comes down to the geeky legalese fine print. For high-powered coaches and athletic directors, there's a right way to fire them if you're going to do that, and there's a wrong way to fire them. And it is written into the contract, at what point do they have to be given notice, right? How do you have to handle the details of their dismissal? What rises to the level of a firing with cause versus a firing without cause? Without cause just means, for a coach, for example, you lost too many games. We don't think you're good enough, but you didn't kill anybody. You didn't violate NCAA rules. You didn't physically abuse anybody. You didn't violate the terms of your coaching contract. You just didn't win enough. Under those situations, the coach is usually owed a lot of money and buyout money. Whereas if you're fired with cause, which is what Louisville's arguing, hey, Rick Pitino, you're named in an FBI investigation. You're fired with cause, certainly not because you didn't win enough games. So that's what the arguments are about. And I'm not sure where they're going to end. And it really comes back to, the kind of stuff I learned in contract law class many, many years ago. What does the fine print say? Did Louisville connect those dots? And did Rick Pitino or Tom Jurich's behavior rise to the level of the dismissal with cause? That's what the lawyers will be arguing. And in most cases, there ends up being a settlement, right? If the contract says Louisville's saying we don't owe you $1, And Rick Pitino, last I saw, was arguing, you owe me tens of millions of dollars. A lot of times you end up with some much smaller financial settlement just to make it all go away.
Yeah, there's a disconnect in there somewhere. That is a significant gap between the two sides. Remember, folks, Dave Glenn, besides being a media magnate, is also a licensed attorney. And his mother once famously said, were he a politician, he'd be the 3 most hated men in America with those jobs. So
that one always gets last, Dan. Always.
It's
every speech I've ever done, that one delivers.
It's one of the best lines I've ever heard. Your mother is a brilliant lady. There's no question about it. Hey, as we come down the stretch here, Duke losing to St. John's. It's 0-11 in the Big East. What in the name of Mike Jaminski's going on here?
Dan, I'll tell you what. I was in a weird, because of the Super Bowl experience and just the airports and the rent-a-cars and the long drives and all that, I was in a weird sports vacuum. Like, most of the time, I know who won every game, certainly in the ACC because it's my job, but even in other sports. And the Super Bowl trip put me in a vacuum. One of the only exceptions, besides the NFL game, of course, was I was in an airport bar, and I glanced at the TV, and it showed St. John's up by 10 over Duke. And I said to my Philadelphia buddies, we were on a layover, I said, we did just drink our first beer, right? Because I couldn't believe St. John's is not a good team, and Duke is a very good team. And I just couldn't believe the score. I was scratching my eyes, wondering if, my eyesight had gone. The bottom line is Duke took steps backward defensively. Like, they just could not defend the good old-fashioned pick-and-roll play, and St. John's tore them to pieces with that. Duke is still an elite team in terms of talent. It's still an elite team in terms of offense. But as they head to Chapel Hill to resume that famous rivalry on Thursday, they still have a lot of work to do defensively. Mike Krzyzewski actually called the performance against St. John's, quote, disgusting and beneath the standards of Duke basketball. So he would agree with my assessment that was an embarrassment, really, for the Blue Devils up at St. John's.
Maybe he should scratch his eyes out too.
Right.
After watching that performance, I mean, you could have offered me several upset possibilities on that day or any other day, and an 0-11 in their own league, St. John's team.
Totally agree.
Yeah,
totally agree. This is why we don't bet in Las Vegas, Dan.
Yeah,
because we're paid to follow this stuff, and we still can't figure it out.
Now, don't get me wrong. I would have been rooting for St. John's, but I never would have taken St. John's. There's a distinct difference there. Hey, Dave, tell everybody how they can keep up with what you're doing, get much more of all this great stuff, and hear the radio show as well.
Yeah, on Twitter, Dan, we are at ACC Sports. That's us, not the official conference handle. We're also at David Glenn Show for my syndicated statewide program. And then online, whether you like the magazine, the newsletter, or all day, every day football, basketball, and recruiting coverage, it's ACCsports.com. That remains our Grand Central station. How to reach us and all the possible information you could be interested in is right there at the website, ACCsports.com.
As always, my friend, been a little slice of heaven. Hope you can find some time to get some sleep.
Yeah, it's time for that, my man. I'm catching up here shortly.
Hey, are parts of Philly still burning this morning?
Oh, my gosh. I really have a lot of family and friends who still live up there. And they say that, again, it's kind of the 10% that are, turning over cars and lighting fires. But the parade is tomorrow. And I'm not kidding you. I believe Philly, because of its passion for football and because of the 52-year wait for a Super Bowl title, at least in the Super Bowl era, I really believe they have a chance to set a record of some kind for one of the biggest outdoor parade, attendances in history, because they're expecting 3 million, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get more than that, because that city cares that much about that sport, and they've been waiting that long.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
It is.
There will be that many people down. And I'll leave you with this. Regardless of what happens in Philadelphia, at least you're not Detroit. Remember back when they won the back-to-back titles in the 90s? Although in Detroit, when they did all that damage and set fires and everything, all that destruction actually increased property values in that city. But in Philadelphia, I think hopefully you guys can avoid that.
All my relatives now live in the suburbs. Back in the day, we lived in the city, and my grandmother, who's no longer with us, actually lived very close to Broad Street, which is where part of the parade was. So back in the day, we would have been a little nervous personally. Now we just get to sort of invade from the suburbs and let other people worry about any destruction.
Come on. Tell the truth. Grandma Glenn would have been out there leading the parade, man.
Oh, she was great, man. She was Italian, and she made some meatballs and pasta that I remember to this day, although it's a long, long time ago.
I hear you. Hey, Dave, thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Dan. See you, bud.
That is Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com. We need to take a break. We'll come back and continue on this Wednesday edition of the show right after this.
Hey, Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingles, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingles, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Travelers Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money, too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
The madness begins here. Make sure you're at the U.S. Cellular Center in Asheville, North Carolina, March 1st through 5th for the 2018 SoCon Basketball Championships presented by General Shale. Watch your favorite SoCon teams compete for a championship and a berth in the NCAA tournament and take part in exciting events like the Downtown Dribble and the Ingles Jam Fest. Book your travel and tickets by logging on to SoConHoops.com or by contacting the U.S. Cellular Center box office. The madness begins in Asheville. Get your tickets today.
All right, we are back. It is 10:47, coming down the stretch of the program here. Thanks to Dave Glenn, as always, for joining us. He is absolutely the best, continues to be. Word about Ridge Media and our buddy Kenny and the folks over there. A one-stop shop based in Greenville that does logo, print, and website design, as well as search engine optimization and marketing. Their clients range from startups to Fortune 500 companies. They're a locally owned marketing firm with offices in both Greenville and Charleston. Call today. Get a free consultation scheduled and see what they can do for you. 864-354-6175, 354-6175 for Ridge Media. And again, tell them that you heard about them here on the show. You even though we have the graphics capabilities now, I still use our original high-text graphics board here, and you can see we were promoting signing day and all of the stuff there. But also, if you can see it, we started at the beginning of the week the first pitch countdown. We have baseball coming up on a week from Friday. The college baseball season opens, and are we excited about it? Yeah, just a little bit. I would say so. And so I thought what I would do today, since 9 is a baseball number, 9 innings, 9 players on a side that are playing, and DH is 10. I know that, but 9 in the field. I thought that perhaps we would do a little highlights action from last season. Each day, pick a big moment from a year ago and play it and make that part of the countdown. No real particular order with these things, although there is one I'm kind of saving for number one that I think probably was the biggest play of last year, all things considered. However, just kind of randomly looking at some other things, some other big moments from last year. So number 9 today is going to be maybe the most unexpected home run in all of Furman baseball's 2017 season. And, of course, now it's incumbent upon me to find it because I had it right here, and it's gone. I mean, literally, it was here, and now it's disappeared on me. I would ask you if you could believe it, but those of you who know me know that I am very, very capable. There it is. Okay, I finally found it. Of all the players to homer, even with the 350-foot left center field fence at Latham Stadium, the biggest surprise last year, in a lot of ways. Now, you talk to people who saw him play in high school, and, offense was his game. But Brett Hebner, I call him the diminutive shortstop of the Paladins. He'll provide us with our highlight number 9 on this countdown of 9 days before the opening of the 2018 season. Here is his first, and to this point only, career home run. And he swings, and Heaps hits one high and deep. Did he? Did he? He did! Brett Hebner taking the grand tour. His first career home run, and it gives the Paladins a 6-3 lead. Look at that smile as he crosses home plate. And he is getting Mom to see he enters the dugout. And they are smiling in the Twin Cities this afternoon. Hebner is a Minnesota native, and I talked to his parents shortly after. I actually got an email from his dad, and he said, "Oh, yeah, we are smiling." So that was number 9 on our list. Again, pretty much in no particular order until we get to number 1 next Friday, and I'll explain that when we get there. But that was Brett Hebner's first career home run last year for the Paladins. Got some info from Hunter Reed. The signing day stuff is done at Furman, and he has put out a release with some information on all 6 of the players that the Paladins signed to date. Now, the release on the original 10 plus the 3 transfers, that's already been done. But this is strictly on the 6 players who signed today. We showed you each one of those players at the beginning of the program. 2 quarterbacks, one Darren Granger out of Conway, and the other Hamp Sisson out of Birmingham. Granger, last year was only his first season as a quarterback, and he was a great dual threat. He threw for 2,125 yards and 18 touchdowns. He rushed for 641 yards and 4 touchdowns. He led Conway to a 10-2 record. Meanwhile, Sisson last fall, he was a starter at quarterback for 2 seasons at Mountain Brook High School in Birmingham. He connected on 66% of his passes, threw for 2,451 yards, 18 scores, and made an appearance in the 7A playoffs, the highest classification in the state of Alabama. Zach Peterson out of Roswell, Georgia, 3rd wide receiver to sign with the Paladins this year. He played multiple positions at Wesleyan High School, but as a wideout, caught 60 passes for 667 yards and 10 touchdowns as a senior. He also punted, averaged 41.5 yards per kick, and is the son of former NFL kicker Todd Peterson, who spent 12 years in the NFL. Inside linebacker Dax Hackett out of Southeast Guilford High School in Greensboro, son of former Appalachian State All-American and 7-year NFL standout Dino Hackett. He registered 110 tackles and made 3 interceptions as a senior last year. Travis Blackshear out of Savannah, Georgia, Benedictine Military School. He's the second player the Paladins have gotten from that program that claimed to pair state championships and had a 24-game winning streak over the last 3 seasons. Two-way standout. He had 3 interceptions last year, playing alongside safety Jonah Griffin, who signed with Furman back on December 20th. Was a 2-time first-team All-Stater as a running back. He rushed for 1,444 yards and 19 touchdowns and led Georgia to a classification in scoring with 174 points. And then safely, DeJuan Williams from Spring Hope, North Carolina, and Southern Nash High School led Southern Nash to back-to-back 12-1 and 12-2 seasons in 2016 and 17. He was all-area and all-conference 3 times, intercepted 7 passes over his final 2 seasons, and returned 3 for touchdowns. So those are your 6 signees from today. That wraps up the Furman class. And we haven't spent a whole lot of time talking about the transfers, but just to run them down, the 3 of them who are already on campus: Melton Brown, defensive end, 6'3", 264, out of Louisville, Georgia, was at Georgia Southern and was a high school teammate at Jefferson County High School of Jonah Tibbs. And now here he comes and joins him at Furman. Cooper Harden, inside linebacker, transfers in from Navy. He is a Chattanooga native. And Amir Trapp might be a more familiar name locally. 5'8", 175-pound junior corner, comes in from Clemson. He is a Daniel High School product and the son of former Tiger James Trapp. So that's a little bit of background on the 6 who signed today, the 3 transfers, and, of course, 10 others signed back on December 20th. So 19 new faces on the Furman roster with the signing day and the 3 transfers. It is a successful class, at least on paper. Now, again, here's my thing. What do they look like in 4 years down the road? That's how you truly judge a recruiting class. On paper, though, I know that Clay Hendricks and his staff are very, very happy with what they pulled in. But then, there's always that other joke. Have you ever seen a coach stand up at a press conference when signing day is done and say, well, I'm really disappointed in our class this year. We didn't really get everything that we wanted or everything that we needed. We really fell short in multiple areas, and we're going to have to work harder and do a better job next year in recruiting and getting in players to fill some of these needs. Have you ever seen a coach at any level step up and say that on signing day? No, you haven't. Everybody got everything they wanted. The sky is the limit. Rainbows and lollipops everywhere. Again, let's judge them 4 years, in some cases 5 years after they've been here, and then we'll really know. Then we will really know. That's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you for your attention. We'll be back with you tomorrow, same time, same place. Looking forward to spending another morning with you. And until then, you folks have a great day. Right now, the rain has subsided a bit. Hopefully, it'll stay that way for a while. In any event, have a great rest of your Wednesday. And until tomorrow, I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you. And so long, everybody. We'll be back on Thursday.